welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man.
Anything else you want to say to that?
Oh my God. You need a little quick pop at the end. There's no shame in his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Oh, Grumpy, you jumped it early last time, so I wasn't sure if you were just going to jump it again this time, Grump.
Nope. I was not going to jump it early today. Sorry.
You remembered.
That's right. I did.
Oh, goodness. Grumpy old man, Islanders news.
Hold on. Do we have a sponsor we need to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second, Grump. I will handle all that, grumpy old man. Grumpy. Islanders play well against the Buffalo Sabres, featuring, again, a nice goal there, I think, by Jean-Gabriel Pageau off of Powerplay momentum going, grumpy old man. Took care of business against a team we should have taken care of business against, Grumpy.
Yeah, we didn't come out on fire in the first period, and I think Buffalo played a lot better than they had the first two games they played us, which is to be expected, right? I mean, they had 15 days off, and you're starting to see them rounded to form a little bit, which made them a tougher opponent. But we took care of business, which is what we have to do, honestly, against the weaker teams. I mean, we got 3 big games coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Grumpy, you're talking about, well, not even this weekend. I mean, it starts Thursday, right? You play the Boston Bruins on Thursday. Then you've got the Penguins, back-to-back scenario Saturday and Sunday. So, again, 3 teams that are going to be teams that are all vying for playoff spots and are pretty dominant teams there in the division. And 3 games in a 4-day stretch. So, again, getting tested here over this next little stretch. And again, after this, we're going to see a little bit of an easier schedule there. I think we play the Devils 3 times, and then we go ahead and play the Sabres 3 times over a 7-game stretch before that 12-game gauntlet, Grumpy.
Yeah, and a lot of home games coming up for us. So we really need to make hay in the next couple of weeks before the gauntlet, as you call it, is hitting.
Yeah, grumpy old man, that's for certain. We will go ahead and get here to the sponsor, DraftKings. You heard us talk about DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports, and how a payday can become every day by entering their contest with huge cash prizes up for grabs. This week is jam-packed with action ranging from basketball to golf, and DraftKings has plenty of ways for you to have a front row seat to all the action. Making a lineup on DraftKings adds excitement every night, and it's simple to do. Draft your lineup and feel the sweat like never before. Every moment means more with DraftKings line on the line. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its users across all sports, and DraftKings is the leader in daily fantasy sports, so there is no better place to get in on all the action. Now that you know how to play, you can download the DraftKings app and sign up using the code THPN. New users will get a free entry with their first deposit. That's code THPN to get a free entry with your first deposit. Only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All
right. Nice job, TJ. Very impressive.
Takes a little practice here, Grump. We're going to go ahead and strap you up and make you read some of those.
That's a mistake. I'm going to tell you right now. If I have to read it, not good. If you let me wing it, it'll be fine. Because I'm going to let it rain.
Oh, God almighty. Let it rain, Grumpy. I'm sure. Initial reactions, though, Grumpy. I know we didn't have a good – I think we were outshot if I remember, pretty significantly in the first period against the Sabres. But it is, again, reassuring that we are taking care of business against the lesser teams towards the bottom of the division, Grumpy old man. But what's your initial take after the Sabres game here earlier on this week, Grump?
Yeah, it's like hit the net when you shoot the puck. I watched some games from around the league, and one thing that these teams are able to do, they're able to put the puck on net. We don't. We only had, in that period, we had 3 shots on goal in the first period against Buffalo, and none in the last 15 and a half minutes. And the one thing I'm like, we're shooting, and we're just missing the net. Maybe they need to work on shooting, just trying to hit spots. You see other teams are able to do it. Why are we not able to do it? Maybe that's part of the Barry Trotz system. Just don't hit the net.
Is that part of it, grumpy old man? You want to hit it on the back end boards so you can careen around and give a fluky opportunity? Is that what you're trying to insinuate, Grumpy?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of thinking since Saturday, particularly about system versus talent. And I've come up with some really astounding.
What's your discovery, grumpy old man? If you've put, well, number one, it scares me that you were critically thinking about the Islanders, grumpy old man. So I can only imagine what you've come to a profound conclusion, Grump. But what have you discovered?
Talent is more important than system, without a doubt. Without a doubt, there is no doubt.
No doubt.
I just want to bring. I was just thinking about it, and I mean, let's be honest. We are a system team, right? I mean, it's about the system for us, not about the talent. Certainly not, because we don't have a whole lot of talent except for one guy. And it brings me to my other favorite topic, Tom Brady. And you think about him all those years in New England, and everyone said, "Oh, it's the system, it's the Patriot way, it's Bill Belichick." Well, we found out this year, as soon as Tom Brady flies the coop, a team that was 12-4 this year goes to 7-9. A team that was 7-9 wins a Super Bowl. And what was the difference? One player, not system, player. Players win games, systems don't.
Oh, grumpy old man. We have such a good time period every once in a while. We don't have to mention Tom Brady, and for your love to throw Tom Brady in here, Grumpy, but sometimes it's just your love for him overwhelms you, Grump. I will tell you this much. I've always been a big believer. System is important, but to a certain extent, you have to have the talent. This is a testament as old as time, Grumpy, isn't it?
No, it's not, because the people who are saying that system over player, they're just stupid. I think that's what you think, isn't it?
No, Grump, I don't think. I think having a good system is important, grumpy old man. It certainly is. I think you undervalue coaches. And again, like, as much as we do give Barry Trotz a lot of shtick, and I think we also give him a lot of praise, I think coaches are important. Talent's also important. I'm just saying, grumpy old man. You have to have that. You have to have a good equilibrium there. I don't believe that superior talent alone can win. I really don't. I think there's a lot of other factors that play into it, grumpy old man. It's the same reason why you see a lot of teams, and again, across a lot of different sports, they struggle despite having all the big name guys. There's a reason for that. It's because they don't have the system, and the coaching and the leadership just isn't there.
Okay. Are you done? You're done now? First of all,
I need you to go on another Tom Brady tirade, Grumpy. So let's go ahead and continue with that, huh?
Okay. No. What I believe, and I do believe in coaches, but what I'm saying is coaches don't shoot the puck. They don't stop the puck. They don't body check. They don't hip check. It's the talent that makes that happen. And a good system can get mediocre talent as good as it can get. And that's where I think we are with the Islanders, honestly. But at the end of the day, talent is going to win out over a system. But coaches don't win games, but they can lose them. I will say that. And we're lucky to have Barry Trotz as our coach, honestly. I don't know why you're trying to get me to poo-poo Barry Trotz or saying I don't believe in coaches. You're just ridiculous, because I'll tell you, I was a fantastic coach, which brings me to my T-shirt, by the way.
Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen on the live stream listening to the podcast, grumpy old man paying his first compliment not even 10 minutes into the podcast in the live stream. We are fortunate today. It sounds like Grumpy is not in such a cantankerous mood.
I'm not. We won. I've had a couple days off. The Islanders haven't done anything really stupid. Michael Del Cole's on IR, which gets rid of one of those ham and eggers that drive me crazy, who have been getting unwarranted chances at higher lineup spots. So maybe we'll see Oliver Wahlstrom move up. But I want to get back to the coaching thing. When I was coaching a little league baseball team, and I might even mention previously,
when you were coaching the little league baseball team, Grumpy, were you making poor moves like the Fossil?
No, I was a system guy, because we had the worst talent I've ever seen. So I had to really go through a whole bunch of managerial tricks to get us wins. Now, this was a team that hadn't won in a year and a half. I mean, the kids were not great. And I mean, when I got them, I was like, oh my gosh, it's honestly the worst team I ever coached, talent-wise. Great bunch of kids.
Like the Bad News Bears. Is that what you're telling me, Grumpy?
Worse than the Bad News Bears. These were the no-win weasels.
Like a team full of lupuses.
That's right, a team full of lupuses. And we wound up being 500 that year. And I tell you, the kids were – and I think I've even told the story, but I'm going to tell it again because not everyone's listened to it. They, I always let the kids pick the name of the team. And, we had green uniforms, and I'm like, okay, well, the uniforms are going to be green. And they're like, oh, okay, so you pick a team something. So I came up with like names with like the grass. I'm like, no, we're not going to be huffing out there in the dugouts or anything like that. So they picked Pickles. And these were young kids, even though they were like 9 and 10 years old. I mean, they were young 9 and 10 years old. So we picked the Pickles. And the guy who I coach with got me a shirt at the end of the year. It says, "Deal with it."
Well, we can't see it all the way, Grumpy, but we'll trust you.
Deal with it. There you go. See, and I thought it was a cute little thing based on the Pickles. So that's my rant for coaching today. I really just brought it up because I wanted to show off the shirt.
So now, Grumpy, with your extensive Little League coaching career, are you trying to tell me that and management career, Grumpy old man, are you trying to tell me that has prepared and primed you for the primetime role with the Islanders, Grump?
Absolutely. Because I tell you what, the talent that I had on that Pickles team was very similar to the Islanders talent.
Oh, wow. Well, Grump, we're going to start rolling through some comments. David said, Grump, what was your coaching style? I can only imagine what Grumpy's coaching style was.
It depended. The only thing I asked of the kids is to try their best. If they didn't, you're going to get yelled at. But mostly, you got to treat every kid different. Some kids think they're tough, so you got to you talk a little sarcastic to them, take it down a notch. You got some kids who just, they're just, a little bit unsure of themselves, so you got to build them up. I didn't treat everybody the same. I treated everybody differently, and the whole thing was, just to get better production out of them. And I did just as good as Barry Trotz, probably better.
Stop, Grumpy old man. I'll tell you though, it's a big stretch coming up for the Islanders. We've talked about it. These are important games, Grumpy old man. We didn't have a great start. I will tell you one thing. I thought pregame, I was happy to see Sarnak was in the lineup. I really was. A guy who hadn't played all that many games. It was only his second game of the season. Yeah, right. He only played one game before this, and I thought he looked pretty well and pretty decent out there on the ice. I can tell you this much, Grumpy old man, didn't have a stellar performance, and a lot of fans are kind of on him for it. I put it like this to you, Grumpy, and to all the live stream listeners and the podcast listeners. I really am not sure what you're expecting production-wise from some of these players when they have to sit 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not expecting them to come out there and play like they're not skipping a beat. There's going to be an acclimation time period. I mean,
it's unrealistic. He doesn't pick up anyone who has any high upside. Jarnac, all right, he's a hustler. He's a third and fourth line guy. What do you expect from those players? They're third and fourth line players on bad teams for a reason, because they're just not that talented. All right, if they play within the system, might get sparks. Some nights they'll be better than others, but they just are what they are. They're Jags. And that's not, I'm worse than a Jag, right? I'm not even a Jag. But, when fans are expecting a Jarnac to come in, let's expect a two-goal game from him, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. We have a handful, and a small handful of players on this team that I think are really good. Everybody else has a role to play. I like I said, I don't get down on the players except for, the usual suspects, but certainly not guys like Jarnac.
That's a great point for me to jump in, Grumpy old man, talking about the usual suspects. But I want to tell you something. You said that you'd be worse than a Jag. Grumpy, I would pay to see you out there on the ice on skates, Grumpy. I'd pay to see you back out there. I'm not sure what skating abilities you have still there, Grumpy old man.
My knees are bad. They're probably like Bobby Orr's knees right now, so I wouldn't be as good a skater as I used to be. I'll say that. I'm more of somebody who stands on the bench and yells at the players. Bailey, hustle, you dog. Stuff like that. Come on. Stop sleeping out there. Matt Morton, the play's in the other end of the ice, son. $6 million. Is this all I get from you?
I'll tell you, Grumpy old man. I do have a question. You talked about the usual suspects. Anders Lee, scoring more goals, Grumpy old man. I'll tell you this much. As I've said it before, it looks like he's poised to have a good bounce-back season based off of last year.
You mentioned the goal, and he did score a goal, okay? And the player who set that whole goal up was Matt Barzal. He didn't even get an assist on it, but he created the whole play. The Jags who were on the team were just kind of floating around in the zone. He was doing everything, and finally he got a pass over. I don't know who got the secondary assist, but then I believe it was to Pulak. and then gave it to Anders Lee. And I don't know what Buffalo's defense was doing. He had time for a cup of coffee and a shot of Sambuca, and he was able to pop it in the net. So I don't know what they were doing, but he was just standing there. I mean, good for Anders Lee. It's not that I don't root for Anders Lee, because I do. I just think he's overrated and overpaid. And he's just average. Just average.
So is he Captain Average Grump yet?
No.
My God.
Nope.
Grumpy old man. Grumpy old man. I'll tell you this. You mentioned the play there by Matt Barzal. It was crazy to see the reaction again. He thought he was unjustly given that penalty. And as soon as he gets out of the box, I mean, he would look like a madman out there on the ice. Controlled play from start to finish. And you're right. He did go ahead and drive and create that goal.
You know, when he got that penalty, the little company lackeys couldn't wait to call him. Oh, geez, look at that penalty from Matt Barzal. He can't keep a stick like that. What about all the other penalties that the ham and eggers on this team get? You don't hear anything about that. Oh, well, you know, hey, his stick was in an unfortunate spot. Oh, Matt Martin, yeah, he dragged that guy down. Well, you know what? That's a tough one to take. No, I'm sorry. If you want to hold Matt Barzal's feet to the fire every time he gets a penalty, do it for the other ham and eggers on this team.
Grumpy old man. I will tell you this, though, and I want to jump back to the one more point about Sarnik before we kind of move on from that. I want to jump back, grumpy old man. You hear Butch and a lot of people try to go ahead and give players that return from injuries, you know, that cushion. Well, you know, even though he's been practicing, he's got his skating legs back there. He doesn't have his game legs because he hasn't been playing in any games. The same exact thing applies, ladies and gentlemen, when you're also talking about a player who's been healthy scratch for the last 2 or 3 weeks on the taxi squad, etc. The same exact thing applies there with Sarnak. So when you see guys like Bellows and Sarnak thrown into the lineup and they necessarily don't look like great shakes out there on the ice, remember, the same exact thing applies there too, grumpy old man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you can't – the thing that frustrates me with Butch, honestly, is that he doesn't hold everyone to the same standard. I just feel that he toes the company line. Whatever they tell him to say, he says. So, you know, and that just kind of frustrates me with him. You know, when you're only giving Kiefer Bellows one game and, oh, you had your shot. Or Zarnik, oh, you had your shot. Let's slide Leo Komarov back in there, even though he'll do nothing for 5 or 6 games. And then one game, he'll get a point. Oh, Leo is so great. We got to roll him out there. No.
Well, I'll tell you this, though, Grumpy. I know that Michael Del Cole was originally there on the IR. I will tell you this much. He's been listed more of a day-to-day. So we can expect him back in the lineup soon in some capacity here, grumpy old man.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to see him, honestly. I want to roll something. I want to roll somebody else out there. I've seen what he can do. How about here's an option. Why don't we take Oliver Wahlstrom in this interim and put him on the second line? Right? Why not Nelson, Bailey, and Wahlstrom? Why not give that a shot?
I want to play devil's advocate, grumpy old man. Again, like I like the idea, but in the same token, I want to play devil's advocate just because we try to be as fair and honest as possible. Oliver Wahlstrom is a rookie who's just starting to establish chemistry with Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and he's not a guy who has a lot of chemistry with other line mates. So as he's starting to find and hit his groove, I think it is beneficial for him to stay there with consistent line mates. You know, if Oliver Wahlstrom wasn't a rookie and he had more time on the ice and better chemistry with other players there on the ice, I'd have no problem with that. I'm just presenting the other side. I'm sure that somebody would bring up just to play devil's advocate, Grump.
Who are you going to put on the second line then? That's my question then. Who has enough talent to actually be a second line player on this team? Even though Michael Del Cole doesn't, but we put him up there. Who has enough talent, in your opinion, to be put on the second line?
To be a consistent second line player, grumpy old man. If it's not Oliver, it's, as I told you this before, I think it's scary to think about the thought process that, well, Beauvillier would be slid back into that spot and then Bailey would be in a top 6 role, Grump. But I mean, like if they were to have it before Beauvillier was healthy, if you had Michael Del Cole as a set, you know, I mean, a top 6 forward long term, that's obviously a scary thought to entertain. But it's not. With Beauvillier back and healthy, grumpy old man, we're going to see the same exact top 6 forwards that we have the entire time. And now for the third line, you're just going to see Michael Del Cole, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Oliver Wahlstrom. It's going to be the same exact, grumpy.
Okay, so what do we see since we're not able to score any goals for the most part with this current lineup, how are we going to improve that? That's a question, TJ, for you.
Wow. Holy crap. You asked me a question, Grumpy. It's weird. It feels weird to be in this situation.
You were so quick to shoot down my Oliver Wahlstrom suggestion. I want to know what you would do as a coach.
What I do there as a coach, and again, it doesn't really matter because I'm not. I'll tell you one thing. I think continuing to establish the connection and the chemistry there with Oliver Wahlstrom, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Michael Duckhole is important. But I think after I would reestablish and relook at about halfway through the season, once Wahlstrom does start to be a little more comfortable, as you feel, and as a coach, as you feel more comfortable putting him out there in different scenarios out there on the ice, that's really what's going to determine when he could be thrust into a top 6 role. I mean, it's all the trust that Barry Trotz has in Oliver Wahlstrom. So as he continues to perform there in the limited sample size he's given there on the third line role and on the power play, he needs to start getting a little more opportunity in other facets of his game. And as he proves he can do that, that's when you get thrust and moved into a top 6 role.
Okay, so you didn't answer my question, which is fine. It was a nice political non-answer answer. That's great. But you know what? I dozed off halfway through, which is cool too. Don't worry. I didn't expect you to come up with an answer. At least I give you suggestions for answers where you just give me your little political double talk, which is impressive in itself, but it doesn't tell me anything. And that's fine. Let's move on to another point, DJ. Since
you grew up, if you're looking for an exact time period, here you go. Oliver Wahlstrom plays 40 games on the third line before you start looking to move him up there to a top 6 role. If Josh Bailey's still not producing, again, like Josh Bailey has played better as of late, still hasn't had a great season. Our top 6 wings have not produced many points really, besides Jordan Eberle this season and Anders Lee. And again, those two wingers have been carrying their weight. But others not. And again, Pavillier has been out. But for example, any cast and crew, anybody who's not performing, because there will be time periods and cycles like we had earlier on this season, which could very easily happen again. When it does happen, Grumpy, that's when you slide a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom in there. You just don't thrust him in immediately, in my opinion.
Okay, that's fine. That's your answer. I'm going to let you off the hook.
Well, we got a few comments here, Grump, here. So Scott's saying, you think Oliver Wahlstrom is going to be a regular in the lineup going forward, or will Trotz go back to sitting him a few games? I think he needs to stay in the lineup for the rest of the season. I 100% agree, Scott, there. Oliver Wahlstrom needs to be a consistent player, and I think he's found a home, at least for the foreseeable future, on that third line with Jean-Gabriel Pageau and, when healthy, Michael Duckhole.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on Scott's little picture with the hand bleeding, the blue and orange. I think that's really cool. I think about it every time I see it, honestly, but I just haven't commented on it. I think that Oliver, but I'm going to actually answer the question that Scott did pose. I think Wahlstrom is going to be a regular in the lineup for the rest of the season. I don't think they speak too highly of him, and he's not going to sit. He's going to be playing the rest of the year.
Well, and we also have another comment. I just want to mention the Grumpy's Groupies in the house. People had mentioned, I know Scott had mentioned the need there for some merch. I'm in the process of creating like a Grumpy's Groupie shirt and a comb that hair, run a comb through the hair shirt or something funny like that. I figure it would be funny just for laughs and giggles, grumpy old man.
Well, I'm going to say, if we get a T-shirt that says run a comb through it and something that kind of looks like a certain media member's hair, we're never going to get her on the podcast. I'm going to tell you that much right now.
It's all in fun and games. I mean, I like AJ Musko, and again, like actually to speak positively of AJ, I thought she did a damn good job there in the Buffalo. I usually don't watch the intermission reports all that often. I usually find something to do with it's like, hey, let me go ahead and take care of some chores around the house. I watched the intermission there, and I liked AJ's analysis there through that time period, through the first and second intermissions against the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, I said I don't think she's bad doing that. It's just the hair. Sometimes it's like comb it. Sorry, but here's the thing: that's not her fault. Well, it is her fault, but somebody in the truck, and I don't even know if there's anybody there who says, "Hey, let's fix your hair," or if they're responsible for their own hair. I don't know, but somebody should say to her, "Put a little product in that bad boy." But I actually, and I hate to say it, TJ came up with the phrase run a comb through it. And I thought
I wasn't going to have any member on there. Again, like it's just a funny one, run a comb through it. I feel like that
person with hair all over the place, right?
Yeah, it could just be like a bedhead. It's not going to be a particular person there, Grumpy. I'm not mean or vindictive. It's just funny, and I feel like people mention it in the comments a lot, so people might enjoy it. Then again, you don't have to buy it. It's just I feel like some people would like to have it. I don't know. I'm brainstorming ideas. Let me put it to you like that, Grumpy old man.
Here's the thing. I enjoyed the idea. I thought it was great. Now, my wife said it was really mean. But she laughed when she said it because she's heard the podcast before. But she laughed. I said, yeah, but it's funny. And wasn't there not another shirt you were thinking of also?
Yeah, Grumpy. Again, like the same phrase as you say, like the fossil. Again, like I'm floating some ideas around Grumpy Old Man. I'm in the process of like creating the outline. And again, I'm not going to like show it until like I know the quality of who it's from, because I'm not going to promote anything that's got bad quality on or anything like that. We'll keep you in the loop. We are working on some merchandise though, so it's just going to take me a little bit of time though, just for everybody who is interested. Brian B saying, guys, is your show really that good? Question mark. Or are the Islanders just that boring to watch? Give it an option: game or the show. Grumpy.
Show. The show is obviously more interesting than the game. I mean, anyone who's watched the Islanders will let me. We're not exciting. And here's the thing: maybe our show isn't that good, okay? But the Islanders are so boring that it makes us look spectacular. I think I should be on the broadcast instead of Butch, or even they could put me out there with Butch and Brendan, and I would just do my thing, and I wouldn't be there more than like maybe a period, and they'd get rid of me probably because I just call it the way it is. You wouldn't hear me doing the company line. You wouldn't hear me praising Josh Bailey for his intelligence. I said last time. Why not? Why doesn't anyone ever praise him for how good a player he is? You ever notice?
I'll tell you this, Grumpy. You have a very uncouth way of speaking at times, Grumpy, so you would not last long in that role.
I can control myself if need be. I just don't see the need.
Oh, goodness. And Brian P. saying, I'm tired of Pulak on the power play. I'll tell you this much. We've talked about it, and I feel like this is just going to be like a running mention on the podcast, just like you mentioned certain things on a consistent basis until the defense starts scoring more goals. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islanders defenders, 17 games into the season, have 3 goals.
He can't put the puck on net. I mean, you can't put the puck on net. How can you be in the trigger spot? We saw Wallstrom a little bit on the power play. He put a couple of shots on goal, and he's unconscious shooting the puck. I mean, his release is way quicker than Pulak's. That's what he's here for. That's what he's here for. Put him out there on the power play. Put him in that trigger spot.
I want to correct myself, Grumpy, man. The defense – okay, Grumpy. The defense has 3 goals in 18 games. I'm sorry. It was 3 goals in 17 games last live stream podcast. So right now defense has 3 goals accounted for in 18 games. Yeah,
but, I mean, a lot of that is because our defense really doesn't get engaged like other teams do in the attacking zone. You might see a guy skate in. You might see Letty do it occasionally, or Dobson sometime. But for the most part, we play defense. We try to get the puck up to the forwards, and we never venture towards the net.
Here's my thing, Grumpy. You figure just by pure luck and coincidence, you'd be able to put a slap shot on net and place it in a spot there where it would go in. I mean, your defense get chances and opportunities to shoot the puck too. There might not be as high scoring opportunity chances as forwards. And the same token, though, as I just feel like I'm not sure how many goals our defense is going to score, but if I had to go out and venture, I want to say we're defensive production and scoring wise, we're probably dead last in the NHL with 3 goals so far this season.
Yeah, but that's not what we do. I mean, we're a play defense and hopefully counterpunch. That's what we do. We're not in the attacking zone a whole lot, you know.
For teams, for guys on our defensive core who have those big slap shots, you should be putting up more than 3 goals. I'm sorry. Ryan Pulak heralded as a guy with a howitzer of a slap shot, unbelievable slap shot. He has to start finding the net.
Well, who's the guy, the kid in the Mighty Ducks, who only hit the net like 1 out of 5 times? That's Ryan Pulak. Shot at 200 miles an hour, but, you know, he never hit the net. I forget his name. He was a big kid.
1 out of 5 times might actually be 2. You might be giving them too much credit there, Grumpy.
I mean, and that was my point earlier. I mean, do they even work on shooting? Maybe they should. Maybe Ryan Pulak this summer should, hey, I'm just here to pick spots with the shot. I mean, do something, because whatever you're doing isn't working. And I like Ryan Pulak, but you can't be the trigger man on the power play and not have any power play goals a third of the way through the season.
Albeit, and again, to take everything as impartially as possible, power play's been playing well as a unit, which is honestly all you could want right now. I don't really care about individual success and accolades. When the power play unit's playing well, I'm a happy camper. Even when certain members aren't performing, it's still worth drawing attention to it, but I'm happy about the overall performance of the power play. It is like you're walking through the Sahara Desert and you get a cold drink of water right here. That's how refreshing it is to see our power play producing, Grumpy.
The fire hydrant is out, people. The fire hydrant is out. Effective.
Yes, it is. Well, Brian B., he also did go ahead and he made one a little later. He said, I would rather choose to tune in here than to watch the Islander games. Well, thank you there, Brian B. I do appreciate it there. Grumpy doesn't.
Honestly.
Brush is saying that Grumpy doesn't believe in the Islanders organization.
That's not true. That's not true. Brush is incorrect.
Grumpy, then combat that point, Grumpy. I'm interested to see what you have to say to that, because some people do think you come off as like your anti-Islander organization.
That's not true. I want better players. I felt if we have better players, our team would be infinitely better because our system is good. I'd like to open it up a little bit more, but you can't argue with the results. It's the fact of our lack of talent. I mean, it's certainly not the coaching. I think Barry Trotz has done a fine job. He's still, like I said, his over-reliance on veterans is a problem. But Lamoriello needs to get better talent on this team. He needs to stop making mistakes by signing aging veterans to long-term deals over big money. I mean, if that's critical of the organization, then I'm critical of the organization. Do something right, you hear it. If you do something wrong, you're going to hear it too.
Grumpy, and again, I think you also just don't like the steadfast commitment to players that just don't, and again, like have as high of an offensive acumen level, because that's the biggest need that the organization has. And and the thing is that we've talked about it before. I just think you don't think they've done a sufficient job there addressing that known need of the lack of offensive talent there, Grumpy. But yeah, kind of moving on here, Grumpy. I did have here from David C. coming in clutch, Fulton Reed. I was about to say Fulton, but I didn't want to sound foolish. David C. coming through in the clutch with that. And then Scott L. saying, Grumpy, don't insult ham and eggs. They're good pairing. Please use a different analogy, Grumpy.
Yeah, ham and egger, that term comes from something they'd serve in like a diner or something like that, just ham and eggs. It's just a plain meal. And that's what our players are, just plain. They're certainly not caviar and champagne dreams or whatever.
I tell you, with my limited cooking experience, hey, ham and eggs in the morning, ooh, not bad. You want to know one thing I want to tell you, Grump, I learned about? I went to the grocery store. I don't grocery shop a lot because I'd be there all day or I'd spend way too much. Paige does most of the grocery shopping. Well, let me put it to you like this, Grumpy. We went into, and I saw like some expensive ham. And I was like, oh, expensive bacon. And I was like, oh, wow. It's some expensive bacon. I said, it looked nice. The packaging looked sleek. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll go ahead and give this a try. And I purchased it. And I'm like, man, oh, man, this tastes exactly just like ham. I'm like, I got duped. I got duped into buying expensive ham. I got duped into buying like $15 bag of ham. I was like, oh man, grumpy old man. I could have just taken the like cold cuts at the local deli and just slapped it on the stove top to make my breakfast bacon.
Well, and maybe if you had increased reading skills, you would have seen that it said ham on it and not bacon.
No, it said bacon. It was advertised as bacon.
Now, TJ, I hear that Paige is out of town this week, and yes. You look like you're struggling, honestly. You look like you lost a little weight. It looks like you're just struggling. I mean,
you see the purple rings under their eyes. Yeah, I've lost about 50 pounds. Yeah, Grumpy, it's a struggle. We got a comment here from Scott L saying, Grumpy, did the Islander system work under a non-system? Would the Islander system work under a non-system coach like Capuano or Waite, or Trotz brought a system with them? And it's gas work, and it has worked so far.
Yes, the Trotz, the Capuano and Waite didn't have a system. But I would argue they were more fun to watch. That much I will say. I mean, when Tavares was there and Barzal was there, that his rookie year, I mean, they were scoring 4 or 5 goals a game. They were losing all the time, but they were fun to watch. I mean, the games were fun to watch. I mean, can you honestly say you enjoy watching the Islanders slog through game after game trying for a 1-0 victory?
I think we need to tick the clock back in your memory bank, Grump, because you're not remembering. Remember, we've had this podcast around for a while, Grump. We actually started back during the Doug Weight days. Trust me, you were even more grumpy back then during that time period, grumpy old man, with the defensive lapses. You might say, sure, it was when we were winning. Yeah, it was fun to watch. But when we lost, which we did more often than we won, it was even more unbearable than watching the Islanders lose now, because they'd lose via stupid mistakes and not covering and marking their men well and just simple defensive lapses. So, no, I won't say that as a whole it was more fun to watch the losing Islanders than the winning Islanders.
Yeah, and I'm not ripping the Trotz system. I mean, it works. I mean, he's a winning coach. I mean, he's one of the greatest regular season coaches ever. I don't think he's a great playoff coach when you have to make adjustments, because I don't think he's real good at it. But, I mean, for certain, him coming to that was the best move that Lou Lamoriello has made, and I've said it before, since he's become GM of the Islanders, was bringing in Barry Trotz. Absolutely, without a doubt. There's not even anything. Maybe J.G. Pajot was second, but that's a distant second. Bringing in Trotz was number one, the best thing he's ever done.
Again, like, as much as we do give Lou Lamoriello, his fair share of shtick, he has done a lot of good things there for the Islanders. Again, Jean-Gabriel Pajot was big. I think making sure that Sorokin was brought over, it was big. And then Barry Trotz. I mean, those are three big pieces that are going to be hopefully, shaping the future of the Islanders long term, that he was involved in, directly had a hand in, involved in. Again, just to be fair and honest.
Yeah, I mean, and the signing of Varlamov was just part of it, the whole Sorokin thing. And he did that extremely well. I mean, he obviously thought that out, had plenty of time to think about it, and he did that. He brought Varley in, signed him for too long of a contract. I don't know if he really had to, and did he bid against himself? Probably. But he got the job done and enabled us to get Sorokin. Now, if we could just get him on the ice, it would be even better.
Grumpy, I want to interrupt there. Paige is listening to the live stream. Very rare because she's not here. I guess she said it was European bacon, which essentially, I guess, is just ham. So, yeah, I bought it. I thought it was fancy. It looked nice. I'm just letting people know. European ham or European bacon, not all it's cracked up to be. It's like ham.
Hold on. So you couldn't even get American bacon. You had to get foreign bacon, a.k.a. ham, because it was, expensive?
I thought it looked nice. I thought it was different. I just wanted to experience it, Grumpy. I wanted the experience. Anyway, this is not a ham or bacon or breakfast food podcast, Grump. It's an Islanders podcast. We do have a few comments, and I got to stay on track, Grumpy, because if we don't hit the comments, it's going to be like 15 hours later, and then we won't have done what we're supposed to do, Grump. David C. saying, TJ, in about 10 years, if you drank from that fire hydrant this late, you'd be up all night.
Very true. Especially depends on what you got in there.
Oh, God. Well,
what's David saying, probably because you'll have an enlarged prostate like most men do, and you'll be on the potty all night long.
Yeah, grumpy old man. I'll tell you. Don't have that problem yet, but that's exactly why as soon as we get done with the podcast, I have to leave in quick haste, grumpy old man. Got a comment here from Angelo R. saying, how many goals a year do we think Wahlstrom can score with a full season or two under his belt? Grump, I'll let you take a crack at this first.
I think it depends on where they play him. Like I said, the issue that we have going forward is that a lot of the players on this team are cemented into long-term deals. So, is there an opportunity for him to move up? Or who are we going to move down? And I think, that limits your opportunities. If you're stuck on a third line, you're not going to get the ice time that a Matt Barzal line is going to have, or a Croc Nelson line. So until he moves up, I'm going to say with a full season or two under his belt, I would hope at least 20 goals.
I was about to say, I mean, he will be a top six guy, Grumpy. And again, I think we need to take into account the expansion draft as well. I think Wahlstrom, they like him. I think Barry Trotz likes Oliver Wahlstrom. I think he's proven with his limited time he's had already this season, he can do it and he can tote the bill. That being said, I think, with 2 seasons under his belt, I'm talking minimum 20 goal season type of guy. If he's having under 20 goals through a normal regular season, you would be disappointed with that production from him if he was healthy the whole year.
And I also expect his power play time to increase, which will help his goals.
Yeah. So again, I guess I'm not. I'm not shocked he hasn't come and lit the world on fire, scoring goals left and right or anything like that. That really hasn't shocked me. We're not playing a fire engine style hockey to where he has those type of opportunities. But he's had a few opportunities going his way, fast break opportunities, and he's created some offensive chances, which is always encouraging to see. And I think he's getting a little more comfortable, though, in the power play also, Grump.
Well, it's interesting when you hear the other players talk about him. It's like, oh, well, he's really working, he's doing his best in the defensive zone. And, that's the most important thing. Well, is it though? Now, here's the thing. On a team with more offensive attack, I think he's easily a 30-goal scorer in this league. Just look at his shot.
Yeah, grumpy old man. And then Brian J. saying, I heard Jack Eichel wants out. Rumors are going around. I've heard that too. I've heard that. And again, they're only just rumors. But man, oh man, could you imagine Jack Eichel with the New York Islanders in some capacity, Grumpy, just to entertain that thought?
Yeah, I'd take him on this team. The kid's got real ability. I mean, who'd want to be stuck in Buffalo anyway? Buffalo. I mean, what do they do in Buffalo? I mean, anything?
Grumpy old man. Gotcha. That was a great point there, Grumpy. Daniel D saying Michael Del Cole is our only choice, talking about who we'd have there as that last forward. Again, I think the Lions are going to return the exact same top six we had, and Michael Del Cole will be our answer there as the left wing on the third line. I can tell you one thing, unless injury, we will not see any more of Ross Johnson this season. We will see very limited amounts, if any, of Kiefer Bellows. The same exact thing with Sarnak. So it looks like we have everything solidified. Whether you like it or not, Grump, that seems to be what the lines are going to be for the foreseeable future if we're healthy.
Get prepared to be disappointed, people.
I'll put it like this. We're going to hit – I'm giving a forecast and a prediction. I think we are – I'm not sure what we're going to do here for the next 3 games. We'll talk a little bit further about that later. But I'm thinking here, after this 3-game stretch here, we play Boston and then the Penguins twice, 3 games there in a 4-game stretch. We are going to amass points in our next 7. I think we play Boston once over that time period, and then we play the Sabres 3 times and the Devils 3 times. Over that 7-game stretch, we are going to win games, and we're going to win more games than we lose. We're going to be sitting pretty in the standings. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. I think we're going to see a little bit once we get in those turbulent waters where we've got those 12 next games, which are all against top teams. I think that is where you're going to see a little bit of what we've noticed here earlier on this season, Grumpy Old Man. We have to really come out of this 8-game stretch with a lot of points, in my opinion.
The key for us is playing our style and sticking to it. I mean, we don't want to get into the run and gun game. It doesn't work. And we're going to have to beat the teams we need to beat. I'm going to say again, the big team that we have to take care of is Pittsburgh. It really is. Even though I think we play Philadelphia very well, we play Boston very well. They're still really good teams with more talent than we have. We can't expect to dominate them. Even though we lost both the Philadelphia games, we outplayed them both games, let's be honest, right? Boston, for whatever reason, they can't score 5-on-5 either. But Pittsburgh is the team that we have to take care of. I think they're our direct competition for that final playoff spot. And we have to come away with points this weekend. We cannot go 0-for-2 again against them.
No. I mean, anytime we talked about it, I mean, you at least need the loser point here, Grumpy. I'm just going to flash this on screen, Grump. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to flash this on screen. I'm not going to say anything, but Brian J with the jokes. He's got the jokes here tonight. Well, it was funny right after that there. David C was asking the same question. So, Grump Jam.
I think there's more of a chance of Pulak hitting the net than a comb hitting AJ's hair, because at least Pulak does it 1 out of 5, Fulton Reed style, where AJ, no, I'm sorry. And like so, my wife says I've been very, very mean to AJ, so I'm trying to be nice. So I don't want to pick on her hair. I think it's been a little bit better, but she does have, it's like one side. It's like just, even you got lick your hand and wipe it down before you go on TV. I mean, something. I mean, look at my hair. I mean, she's got way more hair than I do, but at least mine ain't moving all. It's not up here and over here. And I promised herself I wasn't going to pick on her hair today. Just let her brush through it. Hey, that's all you say.
Oh, Grumpy. You're going to be in the doghouse with your wife tonight there, Grump. Scott L. saying also like Pulak, but I wonder if he could hit the ocean if he had to.
Okay. There was a old Ranger announcer called the Big Whistle, Bill Chadwick. Jim Gordon used to do the play-by-play, and the Big Whistle, Bill Chadwick, who was in the Hall of Fame as a referee, he would do the color commentary. And there was a Ranger player named Gene Carr. And the kid had wheels, but he couldn't hit the net. He was a winger, and he could not hit the net. And he said, that kid couldn't hit water if he was standing in a boat. And that's what I feel about Ryan Pulak. It's like, dude, put a shot on net. Take a little bit off, get it on goal. Look at the goals that Letang scored on us. They weren't rocket shots from the point. He picks a spot, he puts it on net. Good things happen when you put the puck on net. I don't think anyone's gotten through to him.
And again, like at this point, if he was younger, I'd feel a little more optimistic about the ability to change or the ability to alter that mindset of, hey, I've got to take every single slap shot with as much power as humanly possible. But again, I mean, Ryan Pulak is no spring chicken anymore, grumpy old man. I mean, he is what he is at this point, and I don't think we're going to see that mindset change ever. So I think what we're seeing is what we're always going to get regarding the slap shot and the ability to put the puck on net. I don't think at the age of 27 or 28, let's say next season, or 27 next season, he's going to say, oh, magically, I've decided to go ahead and make this major alteration in my game, 3 or 4 years after I've been a pro.
And the thing that just baffles me the most is why Trotz just keeps rolling him out there on the power play. I mean, it's not working, Barry. It's not working. Put somebody else in the trigger spot.
The trigger spot might not be working. The power, again, as we've talked about, the power play as a whole is working. So very tough to complain. I just think we're bringing up points of things that we notice could be in effect long term.
Okay.
But the power play as a whole is working, which is all that matters.
But could the power play be better if we had the guy who's supposedly taking the big shots could actually hit the net? Wouldn't that be better, you think?
Yeah, Grump. You get some weird hiccups going on there, Grumpy.
I did have a hiccup. That's right.
Weird hiccups. Okay, fair enough. Brush saying there, Bailey and Bellows for Nylander.
Why would Toronto make that deal?
Yeah, I don't think they would either.
I'll tell you what, if Toronto would make that deal, I'm signing off on that right now.
I was about to say, I'd take that in a heart. Well, grumpy old man, we already know your disdain and dislike there towards Josh Bailey. But I mean, if you're able to get a guy in Nylander, I just looked up Nylander. I forgot Nylander's still only 24 years old. I mean, the guy is roughly he's producing, but again, he's still playing in that high octane, high flying type of system there in Toronto. So if he were to ever come here, like even through a hypothetical trade, his point production would decrease.
I don't hate Josh Bailey. I wouldn't trade him for a bag of pucks, but Bellows, obviously, he's not going to get a shot here. And Bailey on the wrong side of 30 for Nylander, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. I don't think that's a realistic trade option, though.
Oh, God. David C. saying below average has to be on a shirt. That's a good point. There's so many different ones, grumpy old man. It really –
He'd have to have his jaw all the way out here. You notice he's like this. Anders Lee's always like this. Frown, big jaw out there. Look like the Godfather.
I was about to say, you're trying to say he looks like the Godfather, Grump.
Yeah. Well, what can I tell you? If you ever look at him on his interviews, he's got his jaws out here and he's got that frown. Below average. Absolutely.
Oh, God. And Brush also saying, once again, the Islanders are missing Toews Production on and off the power play, on and off the power play unity.
Without a doubt. That's what happens when you make bad decisions. They come back. You wind up having to give up a guy who is just coming into his own, only played, a year and a half in the league, starting to shine. And we knew TJ, we talked about this. We knew he was going to be real productive in that particular system without a doubt. And you're seeing it. I mean, he's a good player. He would be one of our top defensemen, that's for certain.
Again, and just to go ahead now, again, I was keeping a little production tracker there for Devon Toews. 12 games, has 4 goals, grumpy old man. He himself has more goals than the entire Islanders defensive core. And again, he was injured for a little bit. 12 games, 4 goals. Islanders defense of crew top to bottom, 3 goals through 18 games. Again, I will tell you this much. I really don't care that much, as much as we will continue to bring up the lack of offensive production there goal-wise from our defense. I think we have noticed how much Devon Toews really did bring to the team, because the Letty and Mayfield lineup just has not worked. We've talked about it, and I think it shows you how much Devon Toews was able to patch up and cover up Scott Mayfield's deficiencies, because we've seen Scott Mayfield's deficiencies on right in front of us, screaming and yelling at us all season, where in the past, I thought Devon Toews did a really good job of masking those deficiencies that Scott Mayfield has.
Right, and we talked about that in the offseason when he was dealt. And that was my concern going into the season. I'm like, oh, how are these two going to work out? Devon Toews, all right, was he the greatest defensive player? No. But he always made a good pass, a good first pass out of the zone, and he had wheels to cover up any mistakes that were made, and he was solid enough defensively. But where he hurts is we don't have a guy at the power play. I mean, Nick Leddy, that was 5 years ago, right?
Well, Nick Leddy still has been producing. Again, our power play is producing as a whole. And this is kind of the point we brought up here, Grumpy. David C. saying, the Fossil traded away our best offensive defenseman, which shines a light on some of the awful contracts, i.e. Komarov, Hickey, etc. That's right. You kind of do. I forget every once in a while that Hickey's still under contract.
These are the things I've been talking about for a number of years, though, right? It's like every time that you sign an old guy, it's like, what's that old saying? Anytime, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But the whole time, anytime you sign an older player like this, it means that you're cutting off the young guys, because you can't deal the old guys because nobody with a brain wants them. And that's the problem we have. We just continue to sign older players to long-term deals, and then we have to sacrifice young up-and-coming players. That's something I've been harping on for 2 years now. I knew it was coming 2 years ago when we signed Average, Croc, Eberle to those long-term deals. I knew it was going to come and bite us in the butt.
Some of those contracts haven't bitten us in the butt yet. I think long-term, if they're not dealt, they will, Grump. But moving on, Brian P. saying, Pulak shoots like Happy Gilmore. I thought that was a good comparison as well there, Grumpy old man.
Absolutely. Happy Gilmore is a really underrated movie, too. Sandler, you either love him or you hate him. But I thought he was great in Happy Gilmore. And the chick that he was trying to date, he was Julie Bowen, who was on that show Modern Family for a number of years. So, little trivia for you.
Grumpy old man. I'm getting here. Actually, it was Canadian bacon. And there's Paige saying it most definitely was Canadian bacon. So, Scott L., thanks there for chiming in. Okay, so it was Canadian bacon. I'm just letting everybody know. Canadian bacon, it's not real bacon. It's ham.
You said European bacon before.
I was, you know what, Grumpy? I just remembered I bought the fancy bacon at the store and it didn't taste like bacon. I'm dumb. What can I say? Like a caveman. I was thinking to myself, I bought the fancy bacon. It would taste good. It tasted like ham. And I was like, I was duped. That was the point, Grump.
Hold on. You were duped, or is it just his thing? If Paige would have done the shopping, would she have gotten European bacon? European bacon? That sounds like another name for a T-shirt. European bacon. Canadian bacon. Good job, TJ.
Grumpy old man. We got a comment here from Robert W. saying, do you guys think we made a lousy decision trading Carter Vehaeghe? And again, Grumpy old man, this is just here for the stats for you. Last year, he played there in the Tampa Bay Lightning. And again, because if you're not an Islander fan, you didn't watch Bridgeport or anything like that, this is a name that necessarily you don't think of too much. He's playing in a small market there for the Florida Panthers right now. But so far, 17 games in the season, Carter Vehaeghe, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points through 17 games, Grumpy old man. Last year, he didn't light the world on fire for Tampa, but they're a team that didn't need, I guess, more offensive production there from Vehaeghe. So he only had, in 52 games, 13 points. But yes, he was a part of the Islanders organization, played for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers for a bit. Is producing so far this season for the Florida Panthers, Grumpy.
Okay. The whole thing is, if they don't feel a certain player fits the mold, they move him out. He was probably never going to get a shot. I don't know what his plus minus is. But if you don't play a solid defensive game, you're not going to play under this coach. Just not going to happen. Plus
minus, Grumpy old man. The crazy thing about it, Carter Vehaeghe, This is kind of almost hard to believe, Grumpy Old Man. Carter Vehaeghe's plus minus for every year for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers was again, plus minus is not an end all be all, but he had a positive plus minus every single year for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. And every actual AHL season he played in, he's had a positive plus minus up to this point in his career. He had not had a negative plus minus since the OHL days he played for the Niagara Ice Dogs back in 2013, 2014. But the craziest thing about it is last season for the Tampa Bay Lightning, he actually had a negative plus minus, Grumpy Old Man. First time since 2013, 2014, -9. But right now with the Panthers, +8 on the plus minus. Again, plus minus is not an end all be all. It's just like one of those tiny stats to take in consideration. But again, he's scoring goals. He's putting up points. I don't watch too many Florida Panther games. I really can't tell you as to what role he's playing. So, I mean, I guess when I look at it on paper, who knows?
I mean, the whole thing is, look at who played on our team last year, though. All veterans. The lines were full. Everything was great with the world. We don't give young guys a shot. How old is he? Like 24, 25?
25 years old, Grumpy Old Man.
25 years old now. I mean, I can't say yes because I can't say it was a bad move because I don't feel he was ever going to get a shot here. I mean, so that's why they moved him out. And that's the frustrating thing. It's like we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to mix things up when they're not working. We're so structured and set in what we want to do and how we want to do it with whatever players we have. If they play that system, that's just what we're going to do. And if you don't fit that mold, you're not going to play on this team.
And he was traded back in 2017, just for your record, Grumpy Old Man, for the listeners. But and it is a while ago. But just he was in the Islanders organization in some capacity there for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers years ago, and now he's made his chance up there, and he seems to be making it stick here, Grumpy.
One thing I can say is if he was at the Islanders now, he would have nowhere near that many points and goals. Absolutely not.
Well, if he had 7 goals, he'd be tied for second on the team in goals with Jordan Eberle. So think about that.
Who's leading us in goals right now?
Anders Lee.
Ugh, God.
What are you oh-godding about? You should be happy, Grumpy Old Man. Anders Lee's producing. He gets paid a lot. I'm glad he's producing better than he did last year.
He has 8 goals?
8 goals, I believe, Grump.
Can't believe it.
Grumpy Old Man, I told you, Anders Lee he's captain average. He's captain average now, Grump. I need you to upgrade him to captain average.
Not happening.
Grump, I need you to.
I don't care what you need. It's not happening right now. He's going to have to play. I have to actually notice him out there.
Oh, Grumpy Old Man. I'm going to have to write into Anders Lee like a child would for a Christmas list. Dear Anders Lee, please score another hat trick so Grumpy Old Man will call you captain average. Sincerely, TJ from the Islanders Never Say Die podcast.
I'd love that.
Oh, Grumpy Old Man. Tommy Baffy. Hey, gents. Hey, Tommy. Here we go. David C. also saying here, Grumpy, would you trade Ladd's contract in Leo to the Sabres for Skinner? I think playing with Barzal would reignite him.
Absolutely, but why would Buffalo do that? Buffalo wouldn't do that. Why would they? There's no reason they'd want Ladd's contract.
Well, here's the thing, though, Grumpy. Ladd has less term attached to that contract. And again, like with Leo, that's another contract that comes off the books sooner rather than later, where Jeff Skinner has got a massive amount still tied to that contract. What is it, still another 6 or 7 years tied to the contract?
Yeah, but he's still young enough where he can improve. I don't think you've seen – all right, he's not a player like a Ladd or a Anders Lee, whose game is going to depreciate with age. It's not the style he plays. He doesn't get involved physically. So he's going to keep – I think he'll age like Jordan Eberle has, which has been pretty well. But like I said, there's no way Buffalo would ever make that deal.
Well, again, I'm not sure how much you expect Jeff Skinner to produce production-wise or increase to produce production-wise, Grumpy. He is 28 years old.
Yeah. I mean, Lad's what? I mean, how old Lad? Leo?
It's not about how old Lad and Leo are, Grumpy. It's about giving them the cap relief they need. That's, I think, what David C is trying to suggest here, right? Jeff Skinner quite obviously has not worked this season, and I think they're healthy scratching him. And that means they're obviously quite frustrated. And if you continue to see the lack of production of Easman on the bottom six pairing, how much more until they start looking for ways, if at all, to try to ship off Jeff Skinner? I think that's something to continue to observe because remember, Grump, Jeff Skinner still does have a lot of terms still attached here to that contract. He's not a free agent until the end of 2027.
Well, who does that sound like? Who else? Do we have anybody else on our team who's extended out that far?
Here's my question for you, Grump. I know that Jeff Skinner has produced in the past. Again, just to play devil's advocate, Jeff Skinner, 28-year-old guy, has 7 years attached to his contract. I think he's making roughly about, 10 years? He's making $10 million a year, a cap hit of $10 million a year. If he had produced, and one of our players had produced only 1 goal and 0 assists, but he has produced in the past, would you ever entertain the idea of bringing somebody like that in if he didn't have the name of Jeff Skinner?
What was his name? Josh Bailey? 1 goal? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, well, Grumpy, think about it. Jeff Skinner's tied with more cap than any player on our team, and he's got another 7 years to the contract.
Yeah, I think something else is going on there for that to be for the problem that he's having there. Honestly,
He's not producing.
Yeah, but the kid has talent. I mean, he has individual skill that he's not. He has an actual skill. Like I said, I just don't think the Sabres are going to would make a deal like that. You know what? If Lou wants a rollout out there, I would take him to get rid of those 2 guys. Absolutely.
Well, again, I just want to provide the context here. Last year, through the shortened season, didn't put up a crazy amount of points, 22 points or 23 points there in 59 games. Again, through 14 games so far this season, 0 goals, 1 assist. I will tell you this much, Grumpy. To play devil's advocate, I'm not sure you can bring in a guy like him to the organization just because the amount of – I think he can score. He's a sniper. You can't bring in a guy like that who's still got another 7 years attached, and he would be the highest paid player on our team. I'm just not sure that would fly. Yeah,
that would be problematic. And also, the biggest problem is he doesn't play the system that Barry Trotz likes to play. So that, to me, that's the biggest drawback. But talent-wise, I think he's vastly superior to the other 2 guys.
The thing is, I think he would produce with a guy like Matt Barzal. He hasn't produced. I'm kind of left scratching my head a little bit. I think Buffalo is – I think we're going to see the wheels fall off for Buffalo this season. It's going to get ugly. And it's – you think about it, right? I mean, Rasmus Dahlin, you're kind of like, okay, production's been there. He's still a young defenseman, but still not where probably he would like to be on a personal level. And Taylor Hall has been – they've been leaving some room to be desired. Their 5-on-5 play isn't great so far this year either.
Right, and that brings us to the other rumor that Jack Eichel wants out. Why is the best player on your team who you've built your team around him want out? So that could be part of Skinner's problem also. I mean, Taylor Hall, has he done much this year?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something's wrong up there in Buffalo besides just living up in Buffalo. I think there's something else maybe with the coach or whatever. I don't follow them close enough, honestly. But when you have the star of your franchise want out, and this guy's not performing, and the other big free agent that they picked up in Hall, they're not performing, something's going wrong there.
Grumpy Man, have a few more comments we're going to go through here. Scott L. is saying, Islanders organization is first class. I lost my wife in June. Sorry to hear that, Scott. To COVID. Oh, yeah, sorry to hear that, Scott. And Matt Martin was her favorite Islanders player. Matt Martin's a heartthrob. He's a lot of ladies' favorite player. I sent them an email about my situation, and they sent me a signed photo of Matt Martin with a personalized letter to me. It was very touching. I'll tell you one thing. We've said, again, sorry to hear that, Scott. Terrible to hear that happen there. The Islanders organization, always top class. And I'll tell you one thing. Matt Martin is a fan favorite for an absolute reason.
Yeah, there's a reason why we all love this franchise. And that's part of, once again, really sorry to hear that, Scott, about your wife. And TJ's right. The women love Matt Martin. I can see. I'm not going to slam you, but I could see why he was her favorite for certain. All the women just love him. They love him. But they are an absolute first-class organization, second to none, honestly. I mean, because I've had dealings with them in the past, and they've been nothing. And this is when they were a bad team. They've been nothing but nice and cordial to me. So, like I said, I'm not ripping the organization at all. Just the fossils player moves. That's all.
Oh, grumpy old man. Tom Baffy wants to say. He said, "I heard a rumor. The grumpy old man will be in the stands on March 18th with his I Love Lou t-shirt." Holy Grump, we are going to need to make an I Love Lou t-shirt.
Is that what
I think we should make you wear that sometimes too, Grumpy. I think like we should have to make cordial little bets, like a little wagers, Grumpy old man, as to what shirt, if it's going to really pain you to wear a shirt like that, Grumpy. This is a good idea. Tommy, you're on to something here, Tommy.
There is absolutely no shirt that I will not wear. I don't care. Anytime that I get free clothes, I'm all for it. Now, see, but I was looking at, I didn't realize that was I Love Lou. I thought it was, and actually I thought it was turned the wrong way. I said, I'm greater than 3 Lou's. That's what I thought it should have been, actually. Just flip that. Are we keeping you awake, TJ?
No. It's not if you're keeping me awake, Grumpy. I know you don't have social media, Grumpy old man, but that's a heart sign. That's not a greater than 3. That equals a heart sign, Grumpy old man. It's like an old emoticon, Grumpy. It's like the old image.
Actually, it was less than 3, but I assumed it should have been greater than 3 Lou Lamorellos. I actually thought it was an ice cream cone or something. But I guess, okay, it's Love Lou. Okay. Yeah, I would wear that shirt.
I was baffled that you didn't know that. That was a hard, grumpy old man. I'm glad I was able to decipher that though for you.
And I do. I've always loved Lou Costello. I thought he was absolutely hilarious. He and Abbott.
We'll have to make sure it's I Love Lou Lamorello. Maybe I Love Lou, but Grumpy, yeah, we're gonna have to do something. I'm gonna get on this, Grumpy, with the merch for certain. Brian John. Now this is from earlier. I almost was tempted to show you it immediately, Grumpy, but here it is. Brian J saying, "Have you ever seen Something About Mary, Grump?"
Yes, I have.
And he says, "How about the hair gel there?"
Ooh, looks great. Hey, I don't know how he lost it, but he sure did. Oh, it's hanging off his ear. Good for you, Ben Stiller. That's quite a shot. Well, I gotta say.
I'll tell you. And Joe Fitzpatrick, Joe F saying here, I'm sure about Ryan Pulak. He couldn't hit water if he was standing on the other end of the pier.
Yeah, this is the truth. Some guys are just like that, can't hit the net. He's one of them. So is Gene Carr. Same thing.
Grumpy old man. Yep. And here it is. Tommy also saying Anders Lee, 8 goals, people, in 18 games. I'll tell you, I've been very happy with the production Anders Lee's had so far this season. It's reassuring to see him have a bounce back year. That's all. I was really worried a guy who played his physical style and physical brand of game, he started to have a little bit of a poor year. I was wondering if this is more we would have expected. Again, I'm glad to see he is having a little bit of he's having a resurgence this year, Grumpy.
It's the Matt Barzal effect. I didn't realize he had 8 goals. I thought he had 6. But it's the Matt Barzal effect. Like I said, high tide lifts all boats. That goal he scored the other night, he had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. It was Matt Barzal, that whole goal.
And that's a good point, Tommy. And again, like I know we're talking about Devon Toews having 4 goals for the Islanders. He would not, or having 4 goals for the Colorado Avalanche. He would not have 4 goals for the Islanders at this point. That is absolutely 100%. We just play a different system. But I always do think it's interesting just to go ahead and point it out because we're not. I think we're going to our goals scored by defensemen, I think, is going to be dead last in the NHL this season. Again, it's not a huge issue, but it's always something to take note of when you have guys who leave our system and they're going to be scoring more goals possibly than the entire defensive core. Well,
anyone who leaves this our system winds up scoring more goals somewhere else. I mean, it's just the style we play. We're not predicated on trying to score goals, really. If it happens, it happens. But it's about playing defense. But the bigger number is Devon Toews. What's he, 24, 25 years old now?
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's the bigger number. You trade away a 25-year-old defenseman. Oh.
top 4 25-year-old defenseman. Again, neither here nor there, Grump. I don't want to get you all riled up over that. Sal P saying, to me, it seems like a confidence issue there with Pulak. He just doesn't seem to believe in his shot. He's another in a long list of players on his team who don't seem or ever get pissed off and angry about how they're playing. I want to see some fire from these guys. I've told you this before sometimes. And again, like, I think Barry Trotz is not a guy who gets all that fiery. Sometimes he does, but like there have been moments where I've seen, like, I've always was a fiery player, and like to see fire from a coach. Sports are different depending on what sport you're in, but I always want to see fire from certain players. There's a lot of players on the Islanders team, if they had the same fire and compassion from like a Matt Barzal or Jean-Gabriel Pageau shows, and even in Anders Lee, they show that compassion, they show that energy, they show that vigor when things go poorly, and they show that they want. A lot of guys on this team are just kind of like up, and they don't have that. But for the guys who do, I mean, like, you notice it.
Yeah, I think he wants his defensemen to be nice and calm and relaxed. I don't think he wants anyone who's thinking anything negative, not too high, not too low. You know, with a team that's predicated on playing defense, you want an even keel from your defenseman. You want somebody who's hot 1 minute and cold the next. I just don't think that that's what Barry Trotz wants. I don't think he wants that from any of his players. He wants everyone to be on no-dos out there. That's why we play.
And Tommy as well saying here, Mayfield's a third pairing defenseman. That's who he is. I believe he definitely is a third pairing defenseman. I'm just saying for him, the last 2 seasons, he was paired with, Devon Toews, even though it wasn't 2 years ago now, it wasn't the whole season. It was after Thomas Hickey went out that he was paired there with Devon Toews. They did a really good job, and last year they did a very valiant job as well. I thought they played well defensively, and they did a good job there as a top 4 defense pairing. And I'm just saying, I think it was noticeable now that we see Nick Leddy with Scott Mayfield, and we see the mistakes are just magnified for Scott Mayfield. I think we're noticing how many holes and how many deficiencies Devon Toews is able to cover that Scott Mayfield has.
And that brings me back to the earlier comment about talent, right? I mean, Devon Toews made Scott Mayfield a better player, better than he really is. Because I feel that Scott Mayfield's also a third pair defenseman. But I'm going to tell you what, Nick Leddy is his third pair defenseman at this stage of his career. Their lack of communication is what bothers me. I don't understand how they can't get it together, honestly. They've been on the team together for years, and even though they haven't played together, it's like, come on, fellas. I mean, you've been playing together now for just about 20 games. I mean, you should have that communication. Sometimes it's like one's on one side of the ice, the other's on the other side, and people just skating right down the middle. And it's like, fellas, what are you doing? It's just frustrating. But it just shows how good Devon Toews were and how I feel that organizationally we really made a mistake letting him go.
Yeah, well, at least for the price that we did. I've always believed that, Grumpy, and I still will. He was definitely, we got underpaid for a talent, the top 4 defenseman that Devon Toews is. A unilateral top 4 defenseman across the league. Brian B saying, when is Lou leaving? Can we get him a train ticket? No time soon. I will be interested. Here's something that's interesting to say. I think, and again, this topic that I'm bringing up has nothing to do with the performance that Lou Lamoriello has done. I think he's done a lot of good things. He's done a few questionable things for certain also. Lou Lamoriello is getting up there in age. Seriously, let's think about it. How many general managers do you see at the age of 80 or late 70s in the NHL?
They should be grooming someone right now to take over for him. And I'm not saying he's leaving. I mean, you could always kick him upstairs like they did in Toronto. But at some point in time, what you don't want to have happen is Lou just maybe a health issue comes up or he just can't do it anymore and he just walks away, because I think that would be catastrophic for our team. It really would. Hey, I'm critical, but there's certain things that he does very well, some behind the scenes things that he's very, very good at still to this day, but they should be grooming someone right now. And I don't want it to be Chris Lamoriello. That much I can tell you. I do not want to see the nepotism thing come in here.
Do you want to know how upset I would get, Grumpy Old Man, if Chris Lamoriello was just saying, hey, come on, you've inherited the role? Holy crap. I mean, what have they done down there? And again, like, I understand the AHL team is only going to be as good as you really essentially draft. But man, oh man.
Maybe Trotz will retire and they can move Thompson up to be the head coach. How about that? And then people will be asking, are we going to win any games in an 82-game season?
Oh, grumpy old man. And Tommy also saying here, Islanders know they have Bolduc and Salo coming on the left side, both not far off. I will tell you one thing. I think they are ready to step in. I mean, I think Bolduc leads the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in points this season, which is, and again, like that first year down there, really playing professional hockey there for Bridgeport. Man, oh man.
I don't know if he's ready yet. He's not going to get a shot this year and probably not next year. I mean, the expansion draft is going to be really interesting to see who the Kraken draft, but it depends on who we expose, right? I've already let everyone here know I'd expose everybody with a big contract except for Matt Barzal. Everybody else, you're exposed. I want them to take one of those contracts off our hands because it's not like anyone on this team is so great who makes a whole lot of money that we can't replace them. So that's my goal. And, if they take a Nicoletti, maybe that gives a chance for a Bolduc to step in or a Salo to step in next year. But, as we've seen, we really don't want to get rid of any of the old guys. We'd much rather sacrifice young guys, a Kiefer Bellows, for instance, or a Scott Mayfield, where those guys are cheaper. Those are the guys you want to keep.
Here's my question too, Grumpy, right? Sebastian Aho is going to be I don't know if you mentioned it. Sebastian Aho is going to be on a one-way deal next season. So, and again, I'm not sure what type of value he has across the league, but I know he's on a very manageable contract and he's got 1 year left. And try to tell me, if he goes through waivers, somebody won't say, you know what, he's a moderately young age player. He produced well in Bridgeport, last year. And even though he really hasn't played any games at all because he's been on the taxi squad, he hasn't played for Bridgeport yet this season. He hasn't played for the Islanders. Try to tell me somebody wouldn't take a waiver on a guy like that if he's not going to be, if he's going to be waived in some capacity because he's going to be on that one-way deal next year.
Has Andy Green been that sensational this year that you couldn't have slid him in and played him at least a couple of games? I mean, if somebody gets injured, you're going to ask, in essence, either he or Hickey is going to come in and step into this lineup, and they haven't played all year long. And then you're going to say, well, gosh, these guys look terrible out there. Well, yeah, they haven't played all year long. I mean, I just don't understand why they don't give some of these guys a shot at just to give them a shot to keep their legs fresh. Or here's another thing, to just keep them motivated. Yes, you have a shot to play. Because I think that a lot of guys, that's what happens. I have no shot of making this team, which is average talent-wise. It kind of got to bring you down, right?
Well, okay. Excluding it's average side, grumpy old man, because we're definitely an above-average team. If we were average, we would be not making the playoffs year over year. We are making the playoffs and moving. So, okay, I understand talent-wise.
I just said average talent-wise. I didn't say as a team.
Okay, gotcha. I understand. As I mentioned it, I'm like, okay, I understand the point you're making here, Grumpy. But I mean, think about it. If Aho or Hickey has to be thrown in the lineup due to an injury there of a defenseman, those guys have not played NHL minutes in a long time. I mean, Sebastian Aho hasn't played up with the Islanders since the Doug Weight time period. So the 2017-2018 season. I mean, we're in 2021 right now.
And it's almost 2 years for Hickey. Not that I'm complaining.
It's been a long time. So again, I have no issue at all as the season continues and as you're starting to play more of these situations where you're playing 3 games in a 4-day time period. Give Andy Green some rest. I have no issue at all with that. And see what the younger defensemen have there. See what Aho has. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where Aho has to make it right out of camp, or he's got to be a healthy scratch every single night, and you're going to have to waive him and somebody else can pick him up for free with not really knowing what he can produce there on the NHL level.
Right. I mean, you're preaching to the choir there, brother.
Grumpy old man. I'm sorry. I'm just reading through here a few comments here, grumpy old man.
Anything about European bacon?
No, none about Canadian bacon. Tommy's saying, I have a question. Is grumpy old man related to David Cutler? No, he is not.
No. David's smart. If you mean intelligence-wise, then maybe.
Tommy B saying also, sorry, I'm not taking the Skinner contract.
I don't think it's an option anyway. Honestly, we can't afford to take on any more salary.
Hornbill Music saying Skinner's contract sounds perfect for Lou. Maybe he's not old enough for for a 7-year contract. LOL.
He'd be worth that another 2 or 3 years. They bring him on, but only if you had a series of injuries too. Wait till people see the contract extension that Casey Zizekas is going to get. You're going to lose your minds.
What do you think, Grumpy? What do you think he's going to get?
$4 million a year for 3 or 4 years. They'll give him a raise. Why? Why are you giving fourth line players long-term deals like the $6 million man, like Cal Clutterbuck, like Casey Zizekas? That stays behind him. Move him out.
Wow, Grumpy. I don't think max, I think you can give him the same contract he already had. But again, even then, I'm still kind of left.
We don't have any money. We have no money. You have young guys who have to sign. Pelech, Beauvillier, Sorokin. Those guys are more important to this organization than Casey Zizekas. At some point in time, you have to cut the old dead wood away to let the young guys to flourish. It's like roses, right? You don't just let them go crazy. You prune them back so that they come in better and more full. You can't just let them all scraggle all over the place. It looks like a mess.
And Tommy Baffy saying, time for Beauvillier to step up now. No goals, playing for his next contract. The time is now. That's true. You know what I mean? Like, as much as we talk about Anthony Beauvillier going to need to have a contract extension, if he comes out and lays a dud this season, that you expect to have a cheaper deal for Anthony Beauvillier then, I think, as well. I mean, this is a huge year for him. I thought he took steps forward last year. He didn't come out of the gates hot to start the season, and the injury, I'm sure, derailed the momentum a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see if he could start to establish and regain momentum himself as well. And
he's super streaky. That's the thing with Beauvillier. He's super streaky. Like, he has no goals, but 2 weeks from now he could have 6 goals. I mean, he's a streaky player. Myself, I don't love streaky players unless they're on a hot one. But, I'd much rather have guys who are consistent, kind of like average. I don't know what you're going to get from him, average production.
David C. saying, Bailey barely has a pulse. And Tommy B. This is an interesting one, Grumpy. We've been talking about this a little bit, and we were going to more talk about this kind of towards the latter half of the season. This is a good question, though. TJ and Grumpy, I will ask you a prediction on Adam Pelech's future contract as this $1.6 million bargain ends this season.
Oh, gosh. I got to figure probably $4 million a year. He's so rock solid defensively for the most part. You're not going to get him on a sweetheart deal again. I mean, he doesn't have any offensive acumen at all. But, I mean, you're going to see probably $4 million a year. I mean, think about it. He's going to get 4. Sorokin's going to get what? Maybe 3. I mean, I don't know. Maybe their plan is not to play him at all, so we can't ask for more money. But let's say he gets $3 million a year. And then Beauvillier, what's he getting paid? Like almost 2 a year now. He's going to probably want at least 4 or 3. I mean,
I'll put it to you like this, Grumpy. And again, like, I've made the comparison in the past. Again, it's not a perfect comparison because Dan Hanhughes has produced more points than Adam Pelech will or ever dreams of producing there back during his heyday. But Dan Hanhughes, or I'm thinking towards the end of his career, was a real defensive defenseman when the offensive production was no longer really at the forefront of his game. And again, to expect, I think he's going to make at least 4.5, probably 5. I mean, think about it. Pulock, and the reason I was looking up here, Grumpy old man, right? Nick Leddy making 5.5 per year. Ryan Pulock making $5 million a year. And I know the offensive production won't be there for Pelech, but hell, the offensive production point-wise really hasn't been there for Ryan Pulock this season either. And the goal production hasn't been there for Ryan Pulock this season either. I'm just saying, Grumpy, I think you're looking probably 4.5 plus. I think, in an ideal scenario, Ryan Pulock is probably going to want around $5 million a year. I'm not sure if that's what he's going to get. I think if I'm him, that's kind of the area that I would like to be in.
Maybe we'll move him for 2 third-round picks next year. And we'll keep Leddy and give him an extension. Maybe that's the next move for the fossil.
Oh, grumpy old man. Scott L. saying, better not be his son Chris when you're talking about who would be another general manager.
I hope not.
Oh, God.
But seriously, we should be – and here's the thing. We should groom someone who's really good with salary cap and stuff like that. That's what we really need. Somebody who really negotiate contracts, because I think Lou is not good at that anymore. I don't think he was good in his last few years. I think the salary cap itself has really hurt him in his ability to GM. It certainly did in Toronto, and it's done it here too. I mean, they need to have somebody else handle the contracts and someone who could stand up to him and say, you know what, this is what he's going to. This is what he gives us production wise. He's not worth that. I don't care how loyal a soldier he's been. We need to move on from him. And they need somebody in the room who could actually do that with Lamb.
And again, it's almost about every single live stream or podcast. Brian P. also chimes in the comments saying that Lou has been lost. He's not a good salary cap general manager. So we always give him credit. He's always talking about that as well, Grumpy. Same opinion that you do share. And David C. saying, Andrew Gross reported that lethargic Lou wants to hang on for another 5 years. Oh,
I don't know if he's going to live 5 more years. Is that what he's hoping to hang around, live for 5 more years? Well, good luck. I hope he does.
Well, he wants to be general manager for another 5 years. Wow. Oh, wow. I mean, he's 78 years old now.
Do you really want an 83-year-old GM? Come on. I mean, really. Do you really want an 83-year-old GM where he's like the great-great-grandfather of some of these players? I mean, right? 83. You got guys who are 20. Well, no, I'm sorry. The Islanders don't have anybody who plays who's 20. So I'm gonna ignore Dobson and Wallstrom. But most of these guys are in their 30s. I mean, he could certainly be like a great grandfather to most of these players.
Late 20s, early 30s. Yeah, grumpy old man. Oh, wow. I do like the point, though, you bring up. They should be in the process of grooming somebody. It shouldn't just be a nepotism. Here you go, Chris Lamoriello. You're the next general manager or anything like that. I think that would also help. I mean, I think they kind of did the same exact thing in Toronto, right? When they moved Dubas there. And again, like Toronto, I always say this because you're going to get people commenting about it and complaining about it. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not been successful in the playoffs. I know that. Haven't been very successful in the postseason. We understand it. We got it. But I can tell you Kyle Dubas has done a pretty good job of managing what was a pretty tight cap situation for them.
They're going to benefit this year not having to play Boston in the first round. Boston was their kryptonite, and they took them to 7 games a couple times. I think Toronto, and you remember when we did our preseason predictions, you were Edmonton, and who did I say? I said Toronto. And you're going to see it's going to be Toronto. Claude Julien got fired today by the Canadiens.
Yes, he did.
4th place, and they got rid of him. What do you think? You think Lou would fire Trotz if they didn't make the playoffs?
Okay, well, hold on. Claude Julien and the Montreal Canadiens have not been great as of the last few years, Grumpy. So, again, like Claude Julien, how long was Claude Julien the head coach there? More than just a year, right, Grump?
Yeah, I think 2, 3 maybe.
I can't remember exactly.
He's a good coach. He was with Boston before that. He's a good coach. Is he great? No. I just want to take a shot at Trotz. That's all.
Yeah. Again, I'm not sure. I cannot recall off the top of my head how long Claude Julien was there in Montreal. But again, like he was given an ample amount of time, and they've been kind of muttering around their mediocrity. So again, if I'm a Montreal fan, I'm not all that upset about it. Grumpy old man. Got a few more comments here also. Joe F saying Lou is grooming his son and he'll bring Thompson with him. Ugh.
I was going to say to Joe Fitzpatrick, that's quite a spread he's got going on there in that picture.
I was about to say I need to go to Joe Fitzpatrick's house. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten dinner. I'm ready to eat.
Yeah, I tell you, man, that's he's doing it.
Oh gosh. And he's also saying unleash the Kraken on the grumpy old man. Oh goodness.
The Kraken girl. We have a history with the Kraken in this area.
Grumpy old man there. And Tommy Bath, he also saying here, I believe Bolduc will be with the Islanders next season, and Sally will play 1 more year in Bridgeport. I think, I don't think it'll be a full year in Bridgeport either. I think in an ideal scenario, they would want Bolduc up there with the Islanders organization, 1 year down there in the A, max a year and a half, maybe to be down there half of the year down there in Bridgeport. As soon as injury happens, he's next guy up type of gig. And that's kind of the same thing with Robin Salo. I think they want to get him used to playing there on the NHL surface and kind of acclimated to the Islanders system.
My whole thing is that really going to happen? Or, because we don't want to play the young guys. And that's the frustrating thing for me. Does that, I know a number of podcasts ago, somebody was saying how, Pulak could perhaps get moved out with this 2-year contract is up, and then slide somebody new in. Well, why don't we slide out Nick Leddy now to give some of these young guys a chance? I mean, because he's certainly not performing. What's he, -8 now? I mean, he's probably worst on the team. He and Mayfield are just terrible. I mean, and I know the plus minus isn't be all end all, but when you're on the ice and you're getting scored on all the time, that's not good.
Grumpy old man. David C saying, Grump, 80 minutes and no mention of Casper or the 3 guys they could have drafted in his place. Are you slipping?
No. I promised myself I was not going to mention him today, but I've been thinking about it the whole podcast. I'm like, at the end, I'm going to say, who I didn't mention? But, now that David brought it up, I don't think Casper's done anything. He got that one lucky goal, and then he's just slid back into the mediocrity that he is, while you have McMichael, Kaliev, and Tomasino just burning it up down in the minors. Those are the type of guys we need on this team.
Oh, grumpy old man. And Scott saying, is Bodie Wild getting lost in the shuffle with Bolduc and Salo emerging? Yeah, well, Bodie Wild, I think, he's on the other side, right, Grumpy?
He's a righty defenseman. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha, grumpy old man.
But that said, I mean, okay, you're in the A. This is your chance to step up. You want to be in the big leagues, you're going to have to step up. Just because he was drafted, and I was all for drafting him in the second round when he was still available. You know what? If you're not performing as well as these guys, it's up to you to up your game. Because Bolduc and Salo, I don't know. He's just here now. But Bolduc certainly has.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you one thing. Sal, again, I'll be interested to see how Salo produces here coming there to Bridgeport, and then the Islanders getting some ice time there on the NHL surface. I tell you, we mention it all the time, but man, oh man, the Islanders have done a really, really good job of drafting defensemen here as of recent. And Joe F. also saying, grumpy old man, my mom would love you from the pruning the roses comment. She was the queen of roses. Grumpy old man, making friends all the time, all over the place.
Hey, let me tell you something. If she was the queen of roses, she knew what she was doing, and it's a real talent. I'm not a horticulturist, but obviously Joe's mom was or is. And you know what? I don't mind sending me some roses, particularly on Mother's Day, so I can pawn them off as like I got them from my wife.
Grumpy old man. Nothing shocks me with you. Grump, I'm going to show you something. And again, you and I do not listen to Eyes on Isles podcast. I don't think I've ever listened, or maybe once. Grump, have you ever listened to the Eyes on Isles podcast?
Actually, I think I did 2 years ago. I listened for like a couple of minutes while I was walking, and I passed out on the side of the road because it was so boring. So I haven't before. People thought I had narcolepsy. I'm like, no, it was because I was listening to Eyes on Isles. But I do know that they listen to our podcast because they incorporate into the things they write. The National Hockey League.
I thought you were about to say the National Enquirer does that, Grumpy. Well, here you go, Grumpy. I want to show you this. Mike, a Dino Dangle, listens to the podcast, said my favorite Islander podcast, or our podcast, Grumpy Old Man, and Eyes on Isles. And I think all 4 of you should combine for a mega show one time. Mitch and the Grumpy Old Man would make for a great boxing match. Grumpy Old Man. Would that be something you would want to do? And again, I'm not sure if Eyes on Isles, I've never listened to their podcast. I need to start, obviously, if that's the case, so I know kind of what their viewpoints are. I assume that Mitch, Grumpy Old Man, as referred to here, probably does not agree with a lot of the viewpoints you have, Grump.
He's probably a kiss ass for the Islanders then. But, as opposed to the boxing match, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, what can I say? I mean, look at the plethora of women on this podcast who just love the Grumpy Old Man.
I made sure Grumpy to put down there. Grumpy packs a punch also, Grumpy Old Man. I'll tell you. But yeah, I'll tell you. I would not be opposed to doing something like that, though, Grumpy. Would you? Would you like to do so? Again, we'll try to reach out. I don't know if they would do something, but I feel like you. I feel like you would. I assume that Mitch doesn't agree with you, though.
I project that I could most certainly hold my own with them. Here's the thing. I just don't want to hear him talk about Corsi. Because, when you are leaning on Corsi, it means you don't watch the games. And I don't know if they do. I bet they do, though. But like I said, I read Eyes on Isles. I do. I find it entertaining. I do. I think we traded, a bag of pucks and Thomas Hickey for Johnny Gaudreau and whoever their goalie is now. I don't know. I'm just making it up. But, those are the type of things that we get from them.
Grumpy old man. Sorry. Yeah, again, Mike had a little bit of an issue, grumpy old man. Hopefully you were able to go ahead and fill the gap.
Yeah, I was. Don't worry about it. I'm here for you.
Okay, I'm glad, grumpy old man. Gotcha. We are about here towards the end. We have a few additional comments here, grumpy old man, before we kind of wrap things up. I know we're about an hour and 30, shorter than our usual podcast, Grumpy. We've been knocking out 2-hour ones all the time. We got a comment here from Twitter saying, streaky but not a lacquered effort guy like Eberle or Bailey. And this is talking about Beauvillier.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I think that Jordan Eberle has really I think he showed a lot of effort this year. Bailey, not so much. He's had a couple of games where he's played okay, but for the most part, it's been a bad year for Josh Bailey. And the same thing with Brock Nelson. I think they both struggled mightily, and that's part of, everyone is expecting them to be how they were in the playoffs last year. That's not who they are as players. They've never been that as a player. They got on a hot streak in the playoffs. It advanced us to the Eastern Conference Finals. But the big picture is they are back to who they are, which is just average players.
Another good comment here saying, too, as well, how much realistically do we have to play Pulock to hit the goalie instead of 20 feet wide?
How about every time you don't hit the goalie, you lose $500 off your $500, that's nothing for a guy. He's making $5 million a year.
Well, Grump, as many times as he misses, man, oh man, that would cut into it.
$5,000. Every time you miss the net, it costs you $5,000.
Something like they have to hit him with some type of like a punishment, like a conditioning punishment or something like that. Every time you miss, you got to do suicide at the end of practice.
How about this? $5,000 if you miss, but you get $5,000 if you make. At the end, we come out ahead. And, like the NFL for like the salary cap, they have, not easily obtained goals. So I think he would struggle to hit the net for that, however much he would have to get for those $5,000.
Hit the net more often than he missed, then Grumpy is what you're saying here. Tommy Baffy also saying, can we sign Neil Smith as our next general manager? Laughing, crying faces.
Been there, done that. And here's the thing. I thought Neil Smith, I was excited when they named Neil Smith as the GM. And he only lasted 40 days under Charles Wang. And, I mean, you can't complain about Neil Smith as a GM. He led those woeful Rangers to a Stanley Cup with his moves. So, I thought he would have been good here. They had the three-headed monster. LaFontaine, and I forget who the other guy was. And he only lasted 40 days, and he quit because nobody knew what they were doing.
He saw the writing on the wall before others. And Brian P saying 4 years for Claude Julien again. Like in the 4 years he was there, hadn't really done it there for the Montreal Canadiens, and they've been kind of just muttering around there in mediocrity. Time for him to go. Joe F saying here, I agree with the grumpy old man. Lou in the salary cap is no bueno. And Tommy has a funny comment, Grump, before I let you comment in here, saying, who leaves first? I thought this was kind of funny. Lou Lamoriello or Joe Biden? Grumpy old man, could you imagine Lou Lamoriello here for, like, assuming Joe Biden lasts the full presidency, could you imagine Lou Lamoriello here for another 4 years?
Well, I don't think Joe Biden's dying, and maybe he will. I don't know. But I don't see him dying in the next 3.5 years, and I don't see Lou dying in the next 3.5 years. He looks better than Joe Biden, honestly. So I'm going to say Lou is here longer than Joe Biden.
Oh gosh, grumpy old man! More than four more years of Lou Lamoriello. Wow.
Even though I'm not happy with what he's done in acquiring high-end offensive talent, he's not a zero. He can't handle the money though. I mean, it's like you don't let your grandpa handle the money because then all the kids are getting like $50 bills instead of fives. You can't let him do that. Someone has to manage the purse strings for him. Okay, Lou, give this to Johnny, give this to Susie, give this to Billy. It's not so he's, hey, I'll give out hundreds. No, sorry. Matt Martin, stop coming back over here. You've just been here for 4 years for $6 million. You can't come back for another shot from Grandpa. Can't do it.
Grumpy old man, are you getting close to where somebody's going to be handling that for you too, grumpy old man?
My wife handles all my finances now. She's an accountant. So she's better at me. She's better than me at that. I'm good at spending it. I'm like Lou Lamoriello that way. Yeah, spend it.
Oh, grumpy old man.
Do you need that? Do you need that?
Do you need that? I will never forgive Lou for not drafting Farabee. Joel Farabee's had a good start there to the season. Again, same draft class there as Oliver Wahlstrom and Noah Dobson.
He would not be playing. He would not be playing for us right now because he does not play enough defense. He would not be playing for us right now.
Oh, wow. And Tommy Baffy's saying here, I cannot wait till a week away from the trade deadline to hear grumpy old man's take.
I can already tell you what's going to happen. Well, Islanders didn't do anything. Islanders, no moves.
Yeah, I think I don't see there being anything too crazy for last trade deadline too, but John Gabriel Pageau did pop up there. And then Tommy Baffy also saying Isles on Isles, a little frowny face. I think I would enjoy it. I think it's nice when we bring people on who have a complete different point of view. I think it would be nice to be like almost like a moderator in a boxing ring with grumpy old man and somebody who's 100% Pollyanna Islanders all the way. Again, like I know as much as you like to try to brand me as that grumpy, I think I'm relatively in the middle. I try to be as milquetoast and a fence sitter as possible, grumpy old man.
Boy, if that's not you in a nutshell, sit on the fence. Yep, that's what you do. Don't take a risk. Don't go out there.
I do take occasional risks, and again, like my risks are things that necessarily people don't really have thoughts on. Like but a lot of those grumpy old man, I try to look at it from both sides. That's all, Grump.
Maybe it should be the grumpy old man and Melvin Milquetoast. Maybe that's who it should be. Maybe we should rename the podcast.
Grumpy old man. David C. saying, we need to see a show while the Islanders are playing. TJ doing play-by-play with Grumpy as the analyst.
Well, you do not want to see that. I'm going to guarantee you that. You do not want to see that. I yell at the TV, and I curse at it because I do have a direct influence on how the team plays. And I'm going to tell you what. There are guys, you know my favorites, they get shredded. And you know what? It's really unfair because they're so bad that now I just look for them to be bad. So sometimes I'll miss if other players do something incorrectly because I'm too busy tunneling on those losers on the roster who do things wrong all the time. Like Josh Bailey. Ugh.
I'll tell you for this grumpy old man, that would be funny to do like as role playing to do once. I wouldn't mind doing it, grumpy old man. It could be funny. I think it would be funny there. Maybe as like just like a one-off, like a little pod or a live stream. I had to look this up because I thought it was a spelling error. I'm like, who is Henny Youngman?
He was an old comedian. He used to play violin and he'd tell jokes. These one-liners. Take my wife, please.
Let me put it to you like this, Grumpy. I didn't know if I was going to show the comment because I thought it was just a massive spelling error, and I had to look it up. I'm like, who is Henny Youngman, Grumpy old man?
He was great. He was a classic comedian back then, and he was funny. And his favorite line, "Take my wife, please." That was his big thing.
And Brian P saying Isles on Isles will say we're getting McDavid for Komarov. The SNL of trade ideas.
Absolutely, without a doubt. That's what they do. I mean, but it's fun. It's fun to. I enjoy it. I mean, they obviously put some thought into it. They're like, "What's the most ridiculous thing that I could possibly say?" And we'll throw it out there. I mean, they're just doing it for content and clicks, and I don't blame them. Like I said, they get clicks from me, so they're doing their job.
I guess if you look at it like that, if you make them so outrageous, some people might buy into it. And some people are going to hate it so much that you're still going to get the end desired result of the click and the form of compensation you'd like.
And it's one like where you click on one, the top 3 of something, you click. And then, here's the second one, click. Here's the third one, click. So they get 3 clicks. I think it's gaming the system, but whatever.
I hate that. I think Bleacher Report was the first nonsense to do that, where you had to click every single one of them. And it's a way for them to load a new ad on the page. It's like, oh my gosh, man, oh man, I hate that. I did not know they did. Again, I don't read too many of their articles. And if I do, I just don't really notice who it's from. I really don't pay attention to who it's written from, or like I'll occasionally look who's written by. Grumpy old man, but man, oh man, I hate the little click websites. Scott L saying here, Nelson and Invisible.
I'm sorry. I just read Invisibility. I love it.
Hold all applause and laughter towards the end of the comment, grumpy old man. Nelson and Invisibailey are not doing much this year, but what they're making have been under Trotz's system. They need to produce.
I don't expect them to produce, honestly, because I just don't think they're that good. The big disappointment for me is the regression in Brock Nelson. And I mentioned it. I wonder if he's hurt somehow because his skating is just poor. Or maybe he's I don't know. It just seems like he's lethargic out there. And one thing you can say, he hasn't been like that under Barry Trotz. Bailey's always been what he is, which is nothing. So I don't expect, and he's not any worse than he's ever been. I mean, he's still the king of the secondary assist. He's very good at that. But that's about it.
And then Tommy also saying there to Brian's comment, a 5-year-old would come with more realistic traits. Grump, it means I really do want to get on. I've never listened to their podcast. I can tell you one thing I want to do. I'm going to listen to their podcast to understand what their thought process are. To listen again, I've never listened, Grumpy. You said it's relatively boring. You think I'm pretty boring, so maybe they're right up my alley.
They're like I said, it's been a long time. So I listened to them once because, like I said, I walk during the day. Oh, nice little cat there. I walk, for an hour every day at lunch. And so I'll put on a podcast and I'll listen, but now I listen to something else. I listened to one and it was just, I don't know. I didn't think it was that good. I don't know, but it was a while ago. Maybe they're better. And I don't even know who this Mitch character is, but.
Mm-hmm. David P saying, how many Islanders or how many players will we lose in the expansion draft? I guess you're saying, hey, if we go ahead and trade players to the Kraken, the Seattle Kraken, and say you have to take XYZ player off our team and we'll give you this prospect, the draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure, Grumpy.
Okay, first of all, stop overthinking it. The question is, one, you can only lose one player in the expansion draft. Unfortunately for us, that is, because I put all the old guys who make a lot of money on there, and hopefully they pick 2 or 3 and get us out of loose salary cap jail.
Oh, goodness gracious, Grumpy old man. People also yell at the, yep, here it is, in the take my wife, please.
Okay. Please, absolutely.
And also Sal P saying Henny Youngman had a scene in Goodfellas.
In the Copa. That's right. Great movie.
And David C saying, Grump, no singing tonight. I guess you have it.
Copacabana, the hottest spot north of Havana. Hey, it's Barry Manilow.
Oh, goodness, Grumpy.
Hey, Barry Manilow was real popular with the ladies, too.
I think he still is.
But the ladies weren't popular with him, if you know what I mean.
A grumpy old man. We're right at the end. I want to get your predictions here. Next live stream. Oh, my gosh, Grump. What time is their Sunday game, Grumpy Old Man, against the Penguins? You know the time it's being played. I hope it's not an evening game, Grumpy.
Well, I thought we were doing our podcast Saturday night after the Saturday night game.
This is an odd one just because it's a back-to-back. I mean, I think we should probably try to do it there on Sunday. It's Sunday at 4 o'clock. And it's Sunday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Grumpy Old Man.
The people who listen to the podcast, they know when it's supposed to be every week. Now you want to upset the apple cart? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Grump. I'm just thinking maybe it's going to be better, Grumpy Old Man. I don't want you to go on with only 2 games, Grump. I think it's good if we go ahead and we have the live stream and the podcast after that, Grumpy Old Man, after the Sunday game. So we'll have 3 more games of context and content to talk about. So, but I'll float it on social media. I know you don't have social media, and no matter what they say, I guess I could just lie to you because you don't have social media. Grumpy Old Man. But we'll try to do it there after Sunday, the game, Grumpy Old Man. We'll make sure to post it on social media as to what we do here, just to fill everybody on the loop. Grump, is there anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap the podcast up today?
No, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for listening. And, we have a great time, have a little bit of fun. We put product in our hair, unlike some people in the Islanders family. Those are just things we do to get this podcast going.
Yep, to look presentable. I understand, Grumpy. Thank you so much, everybody participating here in the live stream. Love seeing the comments here flowing in, being able to interact here with the people who do listen to the podcast. Grumpy and I, two avid Islander fans who love talking Islanders hockey and sports in general. Thank you so much, guys, for listening there to the live stream. We'll be posting, whether it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. We'll make sure to keep you guys there in the loop. Thank you, Grumpy, and thank you so much for everybody who had a chance there to participate here in the live stream today. Again, if you weren't able to catch a live stream, the best way to listen is always by checking out the YouTube channel, so at least you could see the references Grumpy's throwing around out there too. I was leaving that open for you to say something, Grumpy. Fair enough.
Hey, no problem. I know how to use YouTube.
Oh my God. I don't even want. I really hope you do, and that's not just like a joke, Grumpy old man.
No, I do. I know. I access YouTube too often. Not our stuff, but other things.
You scared me when you didn't know what emoji was, so I didn't know if you were being serious about the YouTube.
No, I know what it is. I do it. I watch old hockey games, old football games. That's what I do. Yeah, I love it. And you know what? Here, when you get old like me, you watch something from the 1980s. Hey, who won that game? I don't know. Let's watch it. And usually they're only putting games that are close. You know, who's going to put up a game that's like 55-0, a football game? Nobody. So you're going to watch something. Hey, boy, that was close.
It's like a brand new game. I got it. Well, thank you, Grumpy, so much for being a part of the podcast here.
My pleasure.